On choosing to run for elected office, what inspired you to run?
I wanted a challenge. I was looking for something that would stretch me, and I was also very interested in doing something specifically for my community. I had a lot of professional experience working throughout the state of Washington in community and economic development, and it had been quite a while since I'd been able to focus just on Olympia, and that prospect was very exciting to me.
Being a parent of 2 young children and knowing that I was situated and lucky enough to have the time to do this work, and I felt it was important for me to step up and serve our community and to bring a voice that I didn't see at the table at the time, and to represent some folks that may not have access to the system.
And you know, I think Mary Hall once told me that women in particular need to be asked 6 or 7 times. It took 3 on my part, but women in particular need to be asked 6 or 7 times to step up and run for office, and I thought that's probably pretty accurate.
What's life like as a candidate?
Life as a candidate was very busy, balancing work priorities. I still worked for the state at the time, so I had to take a lot of time off and devoted quite a bit of my time to running for office. But I was still doing it while balancing, working and being involved in the community and the responsibilities that I had. The level of community outreach that you do is the same level as a legislator when they run for office. I mean, you have to go to every community meeting that you can because your ultimate goal is to reach as many people as possible. So
Challenging. Every day is a little bit different. You have a goal, you need to go out and meet people. And for introverts, that can be hard. I think there's a good TED Talk about the power of introverts. I recommend it to anybody that's an introvert that is thinking about running for office. I think we need more introverts in elected positions. So it's just putting yourself out there.
I had some help from a friend who had never run a campaign but is a really good organizer, and I could bounce some strategy off her. And what I really did was reached out to people in the community who I knew who were in positions at the city level or had been in other elected official positions, and kind of networked with them and talked to them about strategies and what worked for them.
It's lots of listening. I think that if you're going to run for office, it's less about what you say and more about what you hear. And incorporating that into your worldview, all of those voices are really important. So I think that's probably the biggest take-home about running for office.
What resources of the auditor's office did you use?
The auditor's office has amazing resources, and they are often overlooked. One of the things that I appreciate the most about the auditor's office is the wealth of historical information. So you can go online and look at past elections from years ago, and by doing so you can learn something about every precinct in your city or jurisdiction. It really pays to use the data that's available through the auditor's office to think about how people have voted in the past. You won't get any information about specific individuals in terms of who they voted for, but you'll be able to see a big picture of how precincts voted collectively. That's very helpful. When you're in the middle of an election process and down to the wire and looking for who's voted and who hasn't voted, matchbacks are critically important, particularly for elections that are going to be close.
What's the biggest pressure as a candidate?
As a candidate running, really your time. You can always devote yourself to getting out to groups and fundraising, but time with people is something that you can't get back. So from the time that you decide to run and the time that election night happens, you really need to be strategic about where you're investing your time. And Doorbelling is one of the best ways to actually get one-on-one interaction with people, but you're also trying to split your time between your family, any self-care that you might be interested in having or trying to have, community events, but having a good plan in place and being able to have a good team. You need to have a campaign manager that can help delegate some of those tasks. Also celebrating the wins that you have, because it's a really long duration and there's small incremental successes that you have, and it's really important to celebrate those. Give yourself a little time to pat yourself on the back and then keep going at it.
I think a lot of folks go through the process of seeking a public office and they feel like they need to be an expert at everything. And I think you can't fake that. And when you actually get into office, people think you're an expert about everything. But I think it's good to be humble and acknowledge what you don't know and seek out good mentors.
Asking people for money, I think that's very hard. Knocking on doors, that's challenging too. You have to put yourself out there, so there's no avoiding that. Those things can be challenging and hard. They're also rewarding. I think it helps to really have a plan and have people behind you, supporting you that whole way. I remember doorbelling in particular. Those first, anytime I went out, any evening or Saturday or Sunday that I went out, those first 2 or 3 doors were the hardest, and then you sort of get into a rhythm. But talking to people is part of local governance, and doing it on people's front doorsteps is an important part of the experience.
What can someone expect as an elected official?
Well, you can expect to be challenged, right? I think for me, I always knew I was going to learn something, so I think you can expect to learn. You can expect the work to never be done. You can expect that it's going to be rewarding and meaningful. So those are some of the things I think you can expect.
You can expect to hear from your community. We're lucky to live in Olympia where people believe in participation.
And I also think that folks think you can solve a problem immediately that they have. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time.
You can always expect that you're not going to make everybody happy. That is something that you really have to be comfortable with. We can always expect that there will be challenges. The role of government is to look out for the public interest and what's in the interest of the public good. There's always going to be things that come up outside of the scope of what we thought we were doing. And it's our job to really be thinking critically, analytically, and innovatively about what we can do for solutions.
What message do you have for anyone considering running for elected office?
You should do it. I think that, I think it's a great time to be engaged in local politics. I remind myself that this is where I can make the biggest difference, because our community, reflecting the values of our community, is important.
All of our jurisdictions would benefit from diversity, be it gender or race or socioeconomic conditions, because the voices on the dais help determine the direction of the policy. And so I would encourage folks who think that political office isn't exactly for them to go and talk to their council members, go and talk to the other electeds, understand what they can contribute, and have faith and confidence in moving forward, that there'll be folks that will support you.
Running for office will make you a stronger person. It's just like anything else. Adversity makes you stronger, and if you're passionate enough to be interested in and willing to run for office, no matter what happens, it's going to be a win-win for you and the community, because you're more likely, even if you don't win, you're more likely to be involved and run again in the future. And our democracy is only as good as the people that we have in elected office. We need to have a diversity of perspectives. We need to have different opinions. We need to have a robust debate about issues and be able to talk about them and hear different opinions and have different perspectives. And that happens when all different types of individuals run. And
Well, talk to your family, talk to the people that are closest to you, and keep those people closest to you. They're the people that you can always trust to be honest with you. Once you've done that initial work, connect with people that have been there. Contact people that have run for office. Contact the people that have won, and also talk to the people that have lost. So reach out to those that are experienced. Connect with people that care about the things that you do and solicit their support. Work together to create a plan. Don't go it alone. Don't get discouraged, and run.